let's get some more automated behavior up and running by getting our objects to move and rotate in custom automatic ways. You'll see for this tutorial that I've turned the lights back on so we can view better and added a simple cube to my scene. And I think in this video, I actually want to talk through the scripting a little bit more, just so that all of us know what's going on under the hood in the basics for how movement works. I'm going to add a component. I'm going to call this mover. I'm going to make a new script that I'm going to create and add. I will be sharing a script with you that you already have access to, but I'll be mentioning it by the end of this video. But for now, let's create a custom empty one to kind of see really what's going on with this game system. I'm going to get rid of the start method because I don't need it. And I'm going to add a public float for speed. I'm not going to choose any value for it, but I'm just going to have it floating here. And I'm going to rename this cube that I've made. Feel free to slow the video down or rewind if I go too fast. I'm going to kind of pick up the pace in this video a bit here. I'm going to call this cube mover. And inside of it, I want to add this mover script. Now you'll see I have an extra one here. I think I had added it earlier. Oh yeah, it's because I built it on top of it. So I only have one mover script to it. And you should see that. Where's my variable? Why is it not showing up? Oh, I collapsed it down without realizing it. So be careful of this. I collapsed it down so I couldn't see my variables. By clicking on it, I can expand it out. And so I have a speed that I can toggle and customize later. But right now it's not going to do very much of anything because I have nothing in my update method. So what I want to do is I want to be able to tell whatever the script is attached to change its position. So this transform information, I'm able to change it by accessing it first. So I'm going to say transform dot. And I'm now accessing the information about the transform component. And what I'm going to say is I want to access the position, this first line of information. And I'm going to set it to some new values. What I want to do is I want to increment it and just add some new value to it each frame. So what I'm actually going to say is I'm going to repeat what I just said. I'm going to say the new position is equal to the old position, plus a new vector 3. Some new information that I want to add to this. If I put in 0, 0, 0, then that means that it's going to end in the same spot that it started because I haven't actually changed anything. So, and I usually put F here just to say that it's a float value to kind of keep the precision high. What I want to do is actually allow it to have something changed. And in this case, I'm going to have the X value change by speed times time delta time. This times time delta time allows me to stay frame rate independent. So in this case, whatever the speed does is it's going to change just the X coordinates every single frame. Let's test this out and see what happens. So let's go and reset this runner. And now if I go, I'm going to press escape and choose my scene view. I just want to view it. It's still running, but I want to view it in the editor. I'm going to crank up the speed just a little bit and see that this cube now moves to the right here. If I make it negative, to the left. The higher I crank it, the faster it moves. So that's pretty cool. I can have this move in one dimension right now, so that speed is useful. What if I want to have it move in another dimension as well? Well, I could also have it move with speed times time.delta time in the y-axis. What's that going to look like when I run this? Let's find out. We can always explore and experiment with things just to kind of develop an intuition for stuff. Now, if I head back into my scene view, I crank this up, I see that it's actually going to go sideways and up or sideways and down through the ground. I'm actually kind of clipping right through the ground because the mover overrides that behavior, the collision that's normally kind of occurring there. And so I have now been able to find a way to make it move diagonally. And I can think about, could I have a platform that moves up and down like so that it kind of acts as an elevator for my player? Most definitely. That's something that we could have, but we have to figure out a way to actually get things to move back and forth and kind of stop in one way and move the other way so that they don't just go one direction. Because right now, if I just let my program run, that's just going to float off endlessly. This never changes. I need something to be added that allows this number to be changed. There's lots of ways that we can do this. Since we're not specializing just yet, I thought I would show you a way to do so based off a script that I provided. Although before, let's actually quickly take a peek at rotation. So let's dive back into our script here. And where's mine at? I have too many things open here. Back in here. And what I want to do to be able to get rotations up and running is, well, first I'm going to do some minor reorganization. I'm going to go move object and make a custom method just to organize things. Oh, can't type today apparently. and move this inside of here so that if I want to ever move things, I have to actually type in move object here just to kind of keep that on its own line. I'm going to comment it out for now because what we want to do is just void rotate object and just kind of get a sense for this and create some kind of cool decorative components. So let's go rotate object so that this is running each frame. And what we're going to do for rotate is something slightly different, a bit of a shortcut for how we actually work with working some of these parameters. I'm going to allow for the speed to be the same one, although I could create a speed for movement and a speed for rotation, separate variables if I wanted to. But what I want to do is actually have my transform simply use this behavior called rotate. And inside of it, I can actually for this use a vector 3 as well for all the 3 rotation components. Because with rotate, I'm able to take a look in my inspector here for my, let it reload here. I, in my transform, have these 3 dimensions for rotations as well. So I can think about doing something similar, where I have a speed times time delta time for one of these dimensions for a rotation. Let's take a look at what this is going to do now that I'm running the rotate method. I can press play, pop over into my scene view, and crank this up a little bit. And now I should see that my cube is beginning to rotate end over end like so. And of course, I crank this up higher. Let's put it at 500. This thing's going to spin. And wherever I set this in my scene, it's now spinning. I could think about making this a platform, obviously much slower. That makes it a kind of if I kind of expand this out here, a much larger one that I could move. Now, notice I'm in my scene view, not in my game. I'm actually just kind of doing some live editing during the game running here. This won't be remembered. But now I have a platform that could be like harder. I have to jump on it at the right angle to reach something that's a little bit higher up from beside it there. And then I have to wait till it kind of resets back to have another shot at it. So I can create some cool mechanics, or I can simply just kind of maybe size this in a way where it's a little bit shorter. Maybe I add some kind of cool shapes to this, maybe add some cool textures. And this is just kind of a decorative thing that's spinning in my world. This is kind of a cool thing that makes my level look cooler. Maybe sitting on top of this pillar here. I don't know, do you think this looks cool? I think it looks kind of cool. And if I wanted to make this look a little bit more dynamic and interesting, I could head back into my script and say, you know what? Let's get this spinning on some other axes as well. Why not all 3 of them? Let's add this in so that it's being affected on all 3 of the axes. And now when I run this experience, reload it, rerun it, and head in, I can now see, oh, I forgot that I had moved this during the game view. So let's just kind of roughly position it here. And now that it's running, I can start to crank the speed up and see that it's kind of going in a bit more of a sideways way in its rotation so that it's rotating on 3 different axes at once. It looks kind of like its cool effect that I could add some dynamic elements to my world. So I have some lights turning on and off, and I have some moving things. I could have this platform moving again or this thing itself moving again if I just decide to actually re-enable the movement script here, save this. And what if, here's just an idea for a mechanic. I'm sure you have lots of ideas that are better than mine, but what if I took this and I had it kind of sitting near the ground level, maybe up here, over here, in front of the path that I'm going to be walking across, and just had this moving with the rotation also happening, and had it crossing my player's path only horizontally so that it kind of got in the way and tried to knock him off the path. Maybe something like that would be cool. So for now, we see how we can get some basic rotations and movement in a custom way on anything that we want. But how do we get a more kind of robust system up and running where things can actually kind of move one way and then go back another way, or rotate in a bit more of a customized way? So I provided you, as I said before, with some custom stuff to be able to work with in this regard. To test out some mechanics, let's head into our script folder. What's the one here? And I have 2 of them for you here, a move platform and where is it? I'm blind apparently, a spin object script. So let's head into our script folder, drag these in and see how these 2 things work. And you can use these, study them if you're a coder, or just apply them and work with them properly if you're not a coder. And let's just add a cube back into our world. And I'm not too concerned about its positioning right now. I want to see what this spin object script allows me to do. It's kind of what we've been working with already, but with a few more features added that allows me to choose a speed and then decide which axis I want it to be spinning on. So if I hop back into my scene view here, right now it's not spinning on any axis because I haven't actually enabled things, but if I click this on, now it's rotating on the x-axis. can click that off if I turn Y on and then Z on, or I can have multiple on at the same time to have it spinning in different directions and dimensions. So here I have the ability to have whatever dimensions I want spinning at whatever speed I want on this object, and to be able to create some kind of custom cool spinner stuff. I can just think right now about maybe trying to snag this. Let's say this is 0 for a sec, and stretching this out here, and kind of having this further on. Why don't I take this game object and add it to the end of my pathway here, just by having it selected and going, let's align it with view. So I've gotten it right over here, and now I want to think about having this actually be rotating with a bit of a speed for my player, maybe even adding in this bit of a dynamic here. So this is suddenly a platform the player has to somehow use to jump to the next one by timing it just right in this rotation. Could be kind of a fun mechanic to work with. All right, let's do the other one as well. So this, why did I rename it D? I must have just been clicking rename when I was trying to move around the scene. Let's call this moving thing. For now, we're just prototyping. Doesn't matter too much about the naming. I also want to have this move platform tested out. So let's remove the spinner for now and attach the move platform and see what this does. I'm going to move this over here, extract it a little bit, just so we can see clearly what's going on here. A few more options. I have a move side to side, front to back, and up and down set of options, as well as some timers. Let's get this scene running so we can see how this works, but you can play with this to your heart's content and start to figure out how you want to use this. Anything that you attach the script to, move platform, will be able to have these options applied to it. And coders, dive into the script and read about how it actually works to learn how to set this thing up. So I'm going to move to side from now, and I want to have it move, let's say for 2 seconds at a 2 speed. This means that every 2 seconds it changes direction. And if I set the speed higher, it will move faster, so therefore it goes further in those 2 seconds. I could also toggle front to back and then give the front to back some speed to have it go like this. And then I could even add some up and down. And now I have this platform that's moving in all 3 dimensions, or I can maybe turn one off, so it's just an up and down elevator with my side to side movement. It seemed to have stopped here, but I can toggle. Let's go front to back again. There we go. Well, yeah, why wasn't it moving sideways before? Was it? I missed blind? Oh, it just kind of settled, so I kind of missed it. But yeah, I now have the ability to kind of set things up in a position where I can create these repeating patterns and also different combinations to create moving platforms. Although I do want to show you one thing here. Let's just kind of reset this back, and I'm going to have this simply move. Let's have it go front to back at a speed of 3 and 3. And now if I get this running, let's take a look here and find our moving platform. Here it is. And go and interact with it as my player. If I manage to jump on it properly, I will see that it actually moves without me. My player doesn't stick to it. Now, getting my player to stick to it is a whole different animal. Mechanic that we're not going to get up and running right now, just for sake of time. And so the platforms have to be a bit wider. It adds a kind of an interesting dynamic to the mechanics. If you are a coder who wants to try to figure out this problem, either this is research or some trial and error, have at it. It'd be kind of cool. But for now, here's some new tools we've added to our repertoire. The ability to create kind of just nice scenic objects that move around by moving or rotating on their own, or actual gameplay objects that move as platforms or rotate as platforms to add some complexity and skill challenge to the platforming elements. So experiment and play around with some things and add a little bit more content to your, what do we call these scenes? Our playgrounds here, to add a bit more motion to this. So now we have the ability to create custom shapes, to be able to create things that change over time, as well as move in their own custom ways. We're really starting to expand our mechanics here, and we're going to continue to do so over the next few tutorials.